Modiga människor.
Modiga människor.
Modiga människor.
Hello and welcome to Modiga Människor. This is episode 130. My name is Soja Zachariasdotter. Today you will meet Cristian Terhes. He's a member of the European Parliament. First, I just want to remember you that this channel do not exist without you, your support. All the information is in the text below. And I want to say a big warm thank you to all of you who already support this channel. And now I want to introduce Cristian. Hello.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. And you're with us live from, you're in Washington, D.C. now?
Yes. Right now I'm in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, it's very early. I mean, we actually started this conversation when it was 4 o'clock in the morning for you.
Yes.
So I guess you haven't been sleeping a lot, but...
I haven't been sleeping too much tonight, but, you know, that's fine.
Yeah, so I'm extra grateful for you being here.
My pleasure.
So on the 5th of September, I saw this interview with you, and it's from the Parliament, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, and you asked some questions to the CEO
Of Moderna.
Of Moderna, yeah. And
it was not necessarily an interview, it was more like an inquiry.
No, it wasn't an interview, but I saw it on, the CEO of Moderna, Stéphane.
Bancel.
And the executive vice president of AstraZeneca, Iskra, Reic.
Yes.
Yeah. And did they take your questions serious?
Well, usually they take all the questions, from my colleagues seriously. The problem is they don't answer the questions that they've been asked. So in my case, for example, one of the main questions that I've asked is when are they going to publish the contracts, the unredacted version of the contract signed between, in this case, Moderna and the European Commission. And he did not even answer the question. He just passed it on. Yeah. And there were many other issues raised by other colleagues. For example, the issue of transmission of the virus, because we were told initially that the virus or the vaccine is going to not only give you immunity from being infected with the virus, but also protecting the one around you from getting infected, because this so-called vaccine is going to stop the spread of the virus. So the data and the time is showing now that that statement was false, because people who were vaccinated with this medical product were not immune from getting the virus, and they were also spreading the virus. So some people asked, what was the purpose of the product if it's not doing what it was marketed for? And there were some questions, before me. So when it was my turn, seeing that they were not answering the questions that they were asked, I resumed the questions and I asked a few more questions, like the issue of segmentation of the virus. It's not clear yet if any of this company was able to decode the DNA, the whole DNA sequence of this virus. And they admitted publicly after I asked them that when they created the vaccine, they relied on a DNA sequence. So not the whole DNA, but just a sequence of the DNA provided to them by the Chinese government. Now, this is a problem in itself, because if you don't have the whole DNA sequence or, code of the virus, how are you going to create a vaccine against that if you don't know everything about that virus? Now, many scientists have reported already that this virus, I mean, there's a whole debate if it was created in the, laboratory or not. But beyond that, what everybody agrees is that this virus has a sequence from the flu virus. So how do we know that that sequence of the virus that was disclosed by the Chinese government is not maybe the same sequence that it's kind of matching in a certain proportion, the sequence from a flu virus? And this is the reason why, if you might remember, at the beginning of 2020, there were not reports anymore that people got infected with the flu, but they just, everybody was allegedly infected with the COVID. So this was one of the questions that I'm glad that they answered. They admitted that when they started working on this version of the vaccine in the beginning of 2020, they relied on the sequence provided to them by the Chinese government, which is just confirming the many allegations, I would say, and some people call them conspiracy theories, but they were not conspiracy theories. They proved to be right, that they haven't relied on the whole decoded DNA, I would say, of the virus.
And you say, you ask so good questions, and I've been looking at this, not interview, this, when you question them several times, and I can so easily see that they kind of slide away from answering.
Yes.
But when you say you have data that shows that you tested this vaccine since 2017, 2018, 2019, but you say we only found out this virus in December 2019.
Yes. I mean, that's the data that they've submitted to EMA. EMA is the European Medical Agency, the equivalent for CDC in the United States, for Central for Disease and Control. And I've asked a question or a set of questions to EMA in 2021 to provide me certain details about the way they authorize these medical products. I'm kind of calling them medical products more than vaccines, because they are not real vaccines according to the definition, because a vaccine should provide you immunity from getting infected and from spreading the virus, and these medical products are not doing that. And when I asked EMA to provide me answers to these questions, one of the questions was when exactly they approved or they started the tests on animals and when on humans, because there were some allegations that in at least one case, the tests on humans started before the tests on animals. And I received the answer from EMA. So that's when I received the answer. It showed me that they tested this, or at least Moderna in this case, tested the vaccine, the mRNA vaccine, on animals from 2017, way before we knew about the virus in Wuhan. And I asked the CEO of Moderna about that. And what he said is that they were testing the technology, not necessarily the virus against COVID. But that's a problem in itself. Because if you look historically, the mRNA vaccine technology, let's call it that way for now, it's not something new. It was developed, decades ago. But the reason why it was not put on the market and be promoted, for example, in mass, is because of its side effects that the scientists discovered down the road. And one of the side effects of this kind of technology is that it's affecting your immune system. And we see what is happening now with myocarditis, pericarditis, autoimmune illnesses, all over the place now. And this is it's a problem that apparently nobody wants to address, seriously, but it is a problem. And, that was one of the questions that I asked the CEO of Moderna, and he slightly answered, but he admitted that they were doing these tests since 2017.
shouldn't all politicians with the people's best in interest ask these questions?
They should, but you know, some of the politicians are in bed with this big pharma. Others are afraid. Others are afraid of the media. You know, the media might slam them and ask them questions and attacking them for not being, not trusting the science and stuff like that. So there's a lot of pressure. You know, it was a lot of pressure on me as well. But you know, when you believe in something, you gotta do what you gotta do. And it's important during these times, I would say, to be consistent, you know, with your position, with your faith, with your, to do what you know is right for the people and is right in general. Because if you don't have strong convictions, I would say, and a strong faith, I mean, you easily can cave and just say, well, I'm in minority right now, I'm gonna keep my mouth shut and stuff. I was not that person. You know, I was the same, or the only member of the European Parliament who refused for months to present any kind of proof of vaccination or testing when I entered the European Parliament. The only one in 705 members of the Parliament. So it's, you know, that's how I am. That's how I was constructed, I would say, you know, morally, psychologically. I'm coming from a former communist country. My family was persecuted by communists for religious reasons and for political reasons. And I, you know, if the communists could not break us, you know, nobody can. So.
But are they trying to like force you to take this this shot?
Well, what happened was not necessarily that they forced us, but they said if you're not vaccinated, you cannot enter the European Parliament, or you have to do a test every day. And I said I'm not going to do either of them, because in the case of vaccination, looking at the stats and looking at the descriptions of this medical product, I said I don't think it's safe for me, and I refuse to inject something in my body that I don't think is good for my body. And as far as tests, you know, they clearly are not showing anything, because the rate of error is so high that they are either showing that you're negative when you're positive or vice versa. I said, I'm not going to do that. On top of that, nevertheless, which is the most important reason, I will not allow my mandate as an elected member of the European Parliament to be conditioned in any way, shape, or form by anything else than just showing proof that I'm an elected member. And that's it. The only thing that I show them is the badge that I'm a member of the Parliament. That's it. And, every time when I enter, I had to argue with them, fight with them, do all that stuff. But at the end, I entered the Parliament. You know, they fined me. They gave me a fine of like 7 days cut of my paycheck or so, you know, a few thousand euros, but doesn't matter. It's the fact that I was on the right side of these issues is the most important thing.
So they tried to punish you.
They punished me.
Tried, but they tried to make you do what they want. I mean, yes. Of course they punished you, but I mean, this is like a kindergarten thing. I mean, you don't punish grown-up people.
I mean, even in that committee, when the CEO of Moderna was there, when I asked questions, you know, the last question, you know, I passed the 2 minutes, you know, time that they gave me. And the chair of the committee said, well, next time I'm going to reduce 40 seconds of your next question. I said, come on, man. It's like, you know, they came here to answer questions. They are just avoiding answering questions, you know, so you are talking about 40 minutes or 40 seconds, you know.
I mean, the questions you asked, they are very relevant and they are of huge importance for us, the people.
Yeah.
And the only thing I could hear was that they kind of got stuck in you taking too much time, and
yes,
yeah.
It's specific to that. You know, they try to avoid the real issues to be discussed over there. Everything that you see in the European Parliament is just BS. It's not. They are not real debates. They are not real fights. They are not real discussions. Many things are done behind the scenes without regular people to know or to even have an idea what is discussed. So you are just see after a while certain European laws that are affecting our rights and our freedoms, and people are asking, how that happened, and we are just, all saying, well, we don't know because, nobody told us anything. So in this case, because I'm in this committee, the COVID-19 committee in the European Parliament, when I have the chance, I ask any questions I think are important for the people to know. And you will see that there was one of the commissioners, Vera Jourova, in one of this committee, and she claimed that the green certificate was not forcing people to be vaccinated. This is what she said. These were her words. And when I heard that, obviously, I went ballistic. I said, how can you even say that? How can you look people in the eye and say something like this when we know for a fact that the green certificate affected people in such a harm way, forcing them to be vaccinated against their will? That's the whole problem. But see, now they try to rewrite the history.
Yeah. You, Ivan, I'm not sure how to pronounce Ivilibor Sinčić, yes. Sinčić, yeah, and Christina Anderson. You three together actually stood up in the parliament in a video that went viral, and I think when you did that, you three were my heroes. Yeah.
There was another MEP from Italy, Francesca Donato, and then others joined our group, I would say. We started this last year when the green certificate, or in the fall of last year, when we realized that they are not going to stop the madness with the green certificate. And we said, we had discussions in the plenary, and when we saw what was happening, we said we have to go public, and we did. We had periodic press conferences where we talked about this, and then in the fall and winter of 2021, 2022, I was invited to many protests around Europe, in Belgium, in Brussels, in Amsterdam. I was at one protest at the beginning of 2022 in Sweden.
Yes.
And it's I hope that the European people will realize what is happening and take a stand against these tyrants. Because at the end of the day, the solution to everything that is happening, it's still democratic solution. You have to elect these people out of office. Not only the people who are directly responsible, but by what happened, but also people who supported what happened. And I mean the parties. That was the kind of campaign that we ran in Romania. And Romania was one of the, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the only country in Europe, in the EU, that did not implement the green certificate by law, because the members of the parliament, when they saw the kind of messages that they received from people and the kind of protests and public pressure, they said, no, we are not going to do that. And we told them, I said, if we vote for this, we will never ever vote for your party anymore, regardless if it's a local election or general election. So that was the kind of message that we conveyed, and it made a difference.
I'm so glad that you did this. But I mean, you're telling me that you went around in Europe and to a lot of things. What's the word? Demonstration.
Protest. Yes.
Yeah, protest. And I mean, in the news, I haven't been reading anything about you doing this. So, I mean, now we can come into censorship, because the censorship in the media is big. It's very huge.
Yes, there's a huge censorship, and it is unveiled now revealed now by even by members of Congress, because by the U.S. Congress, because we've seen what happened in the past 2 years when someone complained about, certain issues with these vaccines. For example, they were banned on Facebook or on YouTube or Twitter or so. And nevertheless, just recently, for example, there was a group on Facebook with people who talked about the adverse effects of these vaccines. And the group was deleted by Facebook, and it had over 250,000 people. So, I mean, this is clearly a censorship here.
Yeah. So when you ask about like vaccine injuries, do you get any answer? Do you get any straight answers?
The general answer that we receive is that the states are responsible for the liability. In other words, as the CEO of Moderna said, these medical companies, when they were asked by the governments to produce these vaccines, they ask for indemnity clause and liability clause. In other words, they pass all the responsibility to the states. And this is where we are right now.
Yeah, because they say it's safe. And I mean, so we are like in a moment 22. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I want to bring some hope in this. And we're not going to go into that so much, but you have a background as a priest. And
yes.
with that comes faith.
Well,
so, yeah.
Everything that I do and what is motivating me pretty much to do what I do and take the risks that I'm taking, it's, based on my faith. Because at the end of the day, you have to believe in something in order to fight for something that it's beyond you and above you. And, I'm an Eastern Rite Catholic priest from Romania. And when I said that we were persecuted by communists, we were the only church abolished by communists. So we were underground for almost 50 years. And this is how I was raised, not to be afraid of the truth and have the courage to speak up. And on top of that, when we talk about human rights, for us Christians, it's a matter of belief that all the men are created equal in the image of God, and they were redeemed by Jesus Christ on the cross. So this is the reason why we acknowledge the so-called basic fundamental rights or human rights, even in the Universal Declaration of the Human Rights that states that all the men are created equal. Well, created equal by whom? So, but I'm not going into a discussion here about a personal faith as a matter of virtue.
No, but
it's a matter of principle.
Yeah.
What I'm talking here, that if we in the Western world, the way our society developed is based on this concept that every man is created by God in his image. That's the reason why he has fundamental rights and personal dignity, not a commune dignity, a personal dignity. This is the reason why every person, every individual, it's important to have his or her rights respected by the government. So what we've seen happening now, we've seen even unelected people playing God and putting people at risk, even at losing their lives, as we see happening now with the side effects of the vaccines, which is not fair. It's not correct. It's not just. So, it's for me, this is one of the reasons that is motivating me to fight the fight I'm fighting. So, but as far as hope, I would say it is important for all the people to realize that this is a fight. I would say it's not the right or left matter. It's a right and wrong matter. And we need to be on the right side of the issue. And the right side is to fight for respect for everybody's rights. If you want to be vaccinated, I don't have anything against it. Get as many boosters you want. But my problem is when you make this medical product mandatory, or you force people to take it against their will. That's the problem. And we should not allow the government to do this, because once we create this precedent, all these bureaucrats will use this precedent to gain more and more power against our rights, I would say, and against our freedoms. And we see this happening right now at the level of the European Union, because they want to impose the unique digital identification. Now they want to move to digital currency. They want to move to European wallet ID. And all these things were slowly but surely, you know, they want to control all of our lives, which is not okay.
No, absolutely, and that brings me back to one of the questions you asked, and that's about their contracts. When the question you asked, when are you going to publish the fully act of the contract, because it's like black marked, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
They haven't answered that question.
No.
They haven't answered that question, and the contracts would imagine that the head of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, agreed to have a clause in the contract that these contracts will not be released to the public, or not to the public necessarily, but to any third party, including us as members of the European Parliament, unless the company agrees to release the document. I mean, these are public procurement. Ursula is using European money to do this, you know. This is totally absurd. You know, she's talking about corruption. This is the biggest corruption scandal in the history of mankind. In the case of European Union, the EU paid 71 billion euros to buy 4.6 billion doses of vaccine. I mean, we are not that many people in the European Union, you know.
No.
That means that every person, every human being in the European Union, or for every human being, she purchased 10 shots, which is absolutely insane. It's, you know, she's out of her mind. And imagine that even now, after 2 years, we cannot see the content of these contracts, which is totally absurd, and it's not democratic at all.
And I think, I mean, in the back, how they are back here in what?
I'm at a lobby of without yes.
In the background of what you're saying, I mean, it's a big, huge problem that they are doing the vaccines mandatory, but they don't want to show us what's in it, or no.
Exactly. So here's something that they do, because they're very tricky with it. They are not saying that the vaccine is mandatory, because that would be illegal. They do the following. Under the pretext of facilitating, see, they use these words, they play with these words, and they say the green certificate, what the green certificate does, it's facilitating the exercise of your freedom of movement. So when you accept this premise, you put yourself in a position where the government is going to condition how your freedom of movement is exercised. So they say the following: we are not forcing you to be vaccinated. We are just saying that if you are not vaccinated, you cannot travel anymore. Because we're not forcing you. Are we forcing you to travel? No, you can stay home. Are we forcing you to do whatever? No, we don't. But unless you have certain things, you cannot do it. So they are very tricky here, because this is also a legal fight here, a legal battle. And, you know, they were able to occupy pretty much to conquer the courts, the European Court of Human Rights, the European Court of Justice. And if you go to these courts, you know, they will just either dismiss the case or they will reject your case. And this is where we are right now. But it's a fight that we need to keep fighting, because you see, for us in Eastern Europe, you know, we fought for liberty behind the Iron Curtain. You guys in the Western Europe, you were never exposed to this kind of attitude from your governments. And you see right now protests all over Europe and Western world. Look at Canada, for example, where people are protesting for liberty and for freedom. We haven't seen these kind of protests in this part of the world. So it is important to go back to the basis and understand the importance of freedom, of liberty, and nevertheless pursue happiness. And you should have the government of your way when you do that.
Can I ask you, how are you able to travel?
I have a diplomatic passport, and when I travel to US right now, I'm a US citizen, so I did not have to have a vaccination or something. But every time when they ask me, where I travel, I just show the Treaty of the European Union that clearly states that a member of the parliament cannot be banned, from traveling when he's going, out of work. So, I've done my homework and I know all the laws and stuff. But,
I'm actually so glad that you're standing up for us, because this is really us. I mean, you're doing it for us as well.
Well, one of the reasons, because some people ask me why I'm doing what I'm doing, I said, look, if I cannot ask you to do it if I'm not the one doing it first. So it's important to, lead by example in this case, I would say. So that's what I'm trying to do.
But do you can you tell us just a little about do you know what will come in the nearest future in Europe?
Yes, bad things.
Bad things.
Well, the digital identity is the biggest threat to our freedoms and liberties, because with this, when you move everything digitally, they are able to control everything that you buy and everywhere you will go. And you combine this with the fight against carbonization and the so-called carbon footprint. Imagine that everything that we buy, if everything will be digitally done, you don't pay cash anymore, you don't pay by credit cards, you have everything in the wallet ID. And then that wallet is connected to you as a person, as an individual. They're able to track, for example, everything that you buy. Every product or service that you buy will have a carbon footprint associated with it. They want to reduce the carbon footprint by 55% by 2030 or so, something like this. Fit for 55 is called. And they will force people to change their behavior. Ursula von der Leyen said in 2019 that carbon emission has a price that must change our behavior. So who is the one putting this price? It's them. So they want to do that in order to change our behavior, and some people will make a lot of money and many people will lose a lot of money and will be poorer and poorer. I mean, look what is happening in countries like Netherlands, for example, where they are forcing farmers to close down. I read news that in Norway or in Sweden, for example, farmers are not able to sell their products anymore because the electricity price is too much, too expensive. And this is what is happening. So in parallel, they want to force us to eat cockroaches and God knows what else, under the pretext that they don't pollute that much. And it's a way of for the government to control our lives even more, which is a problem. And you will end up like in China, where you will have a social credit score, and if you say something or you do something that some bureaucrat thinks that it's not okay or against whatever they consider it's okay, they will punish you by reducing your social credit score or by giving you some credit if you do whatever they consider it's fit. So slowly they want to take away all of our rights, which is a problem in itself.
Yeah. So what is the solution, Cristian? Because this is not the future I want to live in.
Yeah, me neither. I lived in such a world in communism, and I don't want to do that anymore. The solution is to fight, use all the democratic methods that are at our disposal. And when you have elections, you have to vote people in offices and parties that are supporting respecting your rights and freedoms. In the month of May 2024, there will be another Europarliamentary election. it's important for people to wake up and kick out of office all these parties that supported the green certificate and all these abusive measures that took place in Europe in the past 2 years. It is at the end of the day the only solution, a democratic solution.
Do you think we are enough people with knowledge to change this situation?
I think we are enough people to make the issue public and put the lights on the problem and wake up other people. So that's the reason why it's important for us to speak, and it's important the stuff that you also do. It's very important because you have all these shows where you talk about these important issues, and people who are listening to you and to others, they have to spread the word. It's the only way to do it, because they control the media, they control the social media, and at the end of the day, we are more than they are. We are not having a loud voice as they do, but if we all start speaking up, we will realize that we are in majority. That's the reason why we have to not be silent, but keep talking about what we believe in, and the more and more people will follow us.
Yeah, and that's where the word faith comes in again, because believing in God or whatever, I mean, we still need faith. Yes. Without faith, it's hard to even wake up.
Well, you need something to believe in, that it's above you, and more important than you. And this could be faith in God, faith in principles, faith in whatever you want, in society, in human beings, in mankind, and whatever. It's just a matter of faith. You have to fight for something that's not about or just about you, or about your family, or just about your friends. It's something bigger than you. Yeah. And this is what we have to convey to all these people, that this is a great cause to fight for, because even if you don't have faith in God, I mean, that's your personal choice, but there's no reason to accept that the government will control you the way they want to control us. What is the reason for it? The communists have done the same thing. That's not okay. It's against our Western world principles, I would say, against the principle of democracy, of human rights, of transparency, of everything that made our society great.
So, if I understand right, I mean, you have faith for the future.
I do, because we are the one making the future.
Yeah, fantastic. And I'm so glad. I mean, I can see the sun rising where you are. And, and just stay. I think this is the time to end the interview. I mean, you have a busy schedule, and I'm so happy for you being here. Can you just stay like a minute after? Or is it some last word you want to tell the audience?
Well, the most important thing is for all the people who are listening to us, first of all, they have to have faith in themselves. They have to understand that they are not objects of the government, but subjects, as it's called in the law, with rights and freedoms. And they should not allow any elected official, for any reason, to take those rights and freedoms away from them for under any circumstance. So when an elected official does that, that's not an honest official and must be kicked out of office. And they have to look among themselves for people who could lead them to a society where the government and the elected officials are respecting their rights. So if they don't have, as many are saying, well, we don't see anybody who might, fight for us. No problem. You be the one doing it, or one of your friends. So get involved. Do not be passive, and lead by example in changing the world for a better place for you and for your kids and for your family and for the future.
Thank you so much, Cristian.
Thank you.
Thank you.